Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Good.
Everyone would say grumpy. Everybody. Oh. I'm so sorry. But a little tired, but I have been feeling like just cranky, and I hate that. I don't think I was that bad with Weston with the crankiness or the just being irritable a little bit, but this time around I'm just like that, and I feel like my eating is out of control. I was so much better with Weston, and now I'm like birthday cake, ice cream. It's just like so much sweets, and I feel like I've gained a lot of weight a lot faster than I did with Weston. So I've been like struggling with that.
I did that with Aubrey too. Like, I think a part of me was like, this is the last time I'm going to be pregnant, and I knew that, and so I was like, I need to take advantage of this time in my life where I don't have guilt of eating. And then I had guilt of eating anyways. Yeah. And I was like, I'm eating too much. This stinks. So, right. Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that big time. And I think that's really, just don't be hard on yourself, because really, it's okay. And look at it this way. This is what I always like to say. If you're eating like dairy and nuts and all that kind of stuff, you're exposing the baby to those things, so the less likely that they're going to have allergies. I read that once, and so of course it's right.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah, we got off Google, and so that means it's true.
Yes, absolutely.
Everything not really, guys. Don't believe us. We are not doctors.
I was saying that the other day, like, I recorded a video that was like, hey, Apple, can you like do something where you can like lock the phone from toddlers or kids so that I don't get locked on my phone for 4 minutes or 11 minutes or whatever, because they keep pressing buttons. And like the FaceTime button, why do you make it red? Because that's what they go to and they want to press it. So I was laughing because I was like, I know I can Google this, but it's a lot more fun when you don't Google things and you go back to the old life of trying to figure out how we did things without Google.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. By the way, you can lock your phone. I'll lock it when he's FaceTiming his grandparent. Well, you have to go to like, I would have to re-Google it. You have to go to some kind of like access, one of that accessibility or something, and I forget what it's called. I'm so bad. Guided access, I think it's what it's called. And then now I have it set up. If I hit my power button 3 times, it'll lock it. It'll ask for my code, and I'll lock it. And then so even if he's watching a video or anything, he can't click out of it. But when he's FaceTiming, he can't click. So he's not like changing the angle when he's FaceTiming.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I'm gonna look that up, because that would be a game changer for me. Like, Aubrey has locked me out of my phone so many times I can't even tell you.
Oh no.
I'm like, well, hopefully no emergencies happen. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think call emergency when it's locked.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's fun. How was your ski trip? Did Hannah like skiing?
She actually did. I did not think she was gonna do well. Like I thought she was gonna not be into it at all. Mm-hmm. But she went the first day, and I like went and spied on her to see if she was actually skiing, and she was skiing, and I got some really cute videos of her with like the hula hoop and them teaching her how to pizza. And then I was surprised. I was like, all right, well, now she's not going to want to go back the second day. And then the second day she went back and did even better. She graduated to level 2 for them, which is pretty cool. And then, awesome. And then the third day of ski school, she ended up sick. So they called us at like, I don't know, like 11. So like 2 hours after she got there, and was like, she refuses to go outside. Can you guys come get her? And we got her, and she was like lethargic. She was hot as can be and just wanted to sleep all day. So we were like, oh. So we were really excited, because I was like, well, now we can sign her up for ski school here eventually, like next year. Because I think they let them when they're 4 here. They let them when they're 3 in Jackson. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then we could ski together without her, because my mother-in-law watched Aubrey, which was really nice to have time together to ski. So
perfect.
It was good. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Nice. I miss skiing. I missed the ski season once again. So.
Yeah.
But it was 70 here, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I know it's interesting. So we're supposed to get 8 to 12 inches here tomorrow, but today it was like 50 and it's been raining. And I'm like, I love the big snowstorms, but I also love the warmth and I'm ready. I think I'm ready for summer already.
Yeah,
So
me too.
yeah.
Summer's my favorite. Spring's probably the worst because it teases you with days like today. And yeah,
I hate
and
spring,
it'll be
especially
cold.
here. It's so windy and it's cold and windy. It's just miserable. So
Yeah.
ugh. Anyway, side note, I was going to say this. I just got our bill from Aubrey's birth. 16 months. Took
What?
16 months to
Did
get
they
her bill.
forget?
And I remember with Hannah's, it was 18 months. I haven't even gotten my bill yet. So that was just for Aubrey's stuff and not for me.
I got mine like in a couple weeks after.
Oh, so jealous. And even that on the bill, they had nursery on there twice. And I was like, she never went to the nursery because they didn't have the nursery reopened.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I'm not paying for this. And so I called the office and they were like, we don't know what this is. So we're going to send you an itemized bill. It'll take 35 days to send you the itemized bill.
Wow.
And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
See it when we see it, and then I have to call them back and fight it again. But it was like they charged me $2,800 for a nursery. I was like, we didn't even use it. So
I hear always get that itemized bill because I hear they'll add things. They'll add things that you took that you didn't take. Like,
yeah,
always check
they
that. They
charged her for the pharmacy, and she didn't get anything from the pharmacy. Like, she was my healthy kid.
Yeah.
Hannah had stuff, but not her. So I was like,
yeah, that's so wild that they just add that in there. I don't know if they just think insurance is going to pay for it, but some people
that,
don't.
and I don't think they think people look at it. Which,
yeah.
To be fair, I did not look at Hannah's. I just paid it and was like, get me out of here. I don't care,
Yeah.
But I'm looking at these now. I'm like, every dollar counts. It's like, how expensive berries are now?
Yeah. It's crazy that they charge you to do something like the most natural thing that you can do. Can you imagine? Like back in the day, like, I don't know, your midwife or, whoever comes and like delivers your baby, like, okay, and that is
$5,000.
$50,000.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
It's crazy. It used to just be a very natural thing, and now we have to pay for it. It's just like paying for feminine products. It's like the dumbest thing ever.
More and more places aren't doing that now. It was interesting. We were in the airport and they had free pads and tampons, and I was like, "Yep, this is great!" Like, I was so excited because I forgot some, and I was like, as long as I can get to the store, it'll be fine. But
right,
yeah.
So our healthcare system, it's wild.
I know. Yeah, don't need to get into it.
No,
get on my soapbox.
I know.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, welcome to Mom Jeans, the podcast. I think that's what we should do going forward, is like a little rambling in the beginning. Then when we do our intro, then we're starting to get on topic. So if you want to skip to that.
We are.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, no, sort of. So I'm Lisa, and I am a girl mom to 2 girls.
I'm Danielle, and I'm a boy mom and a stay-at-home mom, and about to be and pregnant. Yeah. So.
Yay! So today we were kind of like, what are we going to talk about today? And I decided to type into Chat GPT, what should we talk about on our podcast? And it was funny because it like had a conversation with me. It was like, do you want it to be lighthearted or serious? And I was like, lighthearted. I know. I was like, this is creepy. Yeah. And I was like, lighthearted. It said, okay, go over these 10 mom myths. And I was like, ooh, these are kind of fun little quick hits or deeper dives that we can get into. So I'm going to go through these, but I'll start with the first one that was on the list. And I think this is a good one for people who are going to be first-time moms too, to hear from us who are not first-time moms, but we're first-time moms. So the first thing it says, you'll instantly know how to be a mom. The myth that the moment your baby is born, you automatically know what to do. Spoiler alert, it's a learning curve, and most of us are figuring it out as we go. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely, that we're figuring it out as we go. I don't know how many times I asked the nurses, am I doing this right? am I doing this right? What do I do? How do I like get this baby to latch? Like, so no. I was thinking about that. I think this was the only question that you read to me, and I was talking to Ryan. I just said, I was like, I think back in the day when people were more like in villages and like tight knit communities, or even back in the caveman period, like you're around other mothers and women, and there when they give birth. So I think it probably came more natural when it was more almost instinctual. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now, especially in America, I feel like we're so isolated a lot of times, and don't have that community. Like, I didn't have any experience with kids at all up until this point, so I had no clue. And yes, I used Google a lot and called friends and like used you guys, my mom, and so no, I don't think certain things come natural, like waking up in the middle of the night and when your baby cries, but other than that, I don't know. Sometimes the love comes natural, but again, I've heard that not coming for everybody, the having a hard time like attaching. So I would say that's me.
I would say that's such a great point too. Like, I do think, like, my mom was here for the last 3 days helping us through spring break, and it was like so nice to have an extra set of hands. And it's, I was thinking about that while she was here, and I was like, man, think about being in a village where you can like be like, hey, I need to run to the store, or I need to go run. Can you watch my kids? And it's like, you don't even ask, you just do it. And it's totally fine. And it works. And, I think that would be so, so great, but then I think of myself in the control sense, and I'm like, I don't know if I would like the way other people want to parent. And maybe you just kind of go with it, and you don't have that control sense when you are raising kids in a village. It's interesting. Like, oh man, I was venting a bunch about my mom. You saw, like, my mom today was like, your kids should be listening to you 95% of the time. I was like, excuse me? Like, Mom, my kids are 3 and 1. 95% of the time, you guys always listen. You guys never cried this much. You guys, I said, Mom, what do you remember? I'm 38 years old. Like, what do you remember from 35 years ago? And she's like, I mean, you guys didn't watch TV until you were 5. And I was like, really? And she goes, that's not true, is it? I guess you guys were younger than that. And I was like, yeah, like, no, like, Mom, you don't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. Like, I don't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. But I do think it's interesting. Like, her mom instincts, I think, have grown with us. Like, as we get older, her mom instincts have gone to advising us on, like, whatever. I don't know, like,
life.
Right now, her big thing is how much she's damaged her skin over the years, and how I need to start wearing better moisturizing creams and stuff like that. And I should have taught you how to do all that as a kid. And I'm like, all right, lady, whatever, like that. Yeah. But that's what her concerns are as a mom now. And I think, I definitely instinctually, like, I was terrified of Hannah when Hannah was born, and I had no idea what I was doing. And anytime she cried, I was like, what am I doing wrong?
I know.
I'm doing something wrong, So yeah, I think that's definitely a myth. Like, you won't instantly know how to be a mom, but you'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll say, and you'll be all right. So don't be afraid by us saying this. Okay, so the next one I'm going to go to is, and this is maybe topical for you now, and you can tell us, pregnancy glow. The myth that all pregnant women have this radiant, glowing skin. Some of us feel bloated, sweaty, and tired while waiting for that glow to appear. How have you felt through your pregnancies, both of them? One, was one different than the other? Or did you... I think you're glowing, because that video you sent me yesterday, I don't know, yesterday or today, you looked gorgeous in it. Your skin looks incredible.
Well, thank you. I don't know. It must have been the lighting, because I would say that's a myth. I don't know. If it's the one about Weston's cake, I had makeup on. But if it was today, I think it was the sun. No, with Weston, when I was pregnant with him, I do feel like my skin looked really nice, and I noticed my hair was thicker, and it seemed to be growing really fast. Before I got pregnant, I have this like red like rash on my, I don't know, it's like bumps that won't go away. And it was to be honest, it's when I stopped using Clinique to go to a cleaner product. I might have to go back to Clinique because I do not want to waste it. It seems to getting a little bit better, but I don't feel that glow like I did with Weston.
Interesting.
And I just feel bigger and bloated, but I don't know.
I don't think I ever felt like my skin was any different. Like, I don't think I was radiant and glowing. But I don't think I felt any really different. Like, I was happy. I was excited to be pregnant, but also like terrified sometimes, but mostly excited. And that would make me smile more. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Kind of like when they used to say back in the day where you're most attractive when you just get out of a relationship or just get into a relationship. Maybe there's like like some kind of perception about that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Being happy. Maybe I hadn't had that glow because I'm so grumpy. It's just, if you can't see my face, I just made a face. My family, they keep reminding me how cranky I am. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And as soon as
that's a lot.
Cranky, I'm like,
on your plate.
I know, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, y'all.
Don't be sorry.
I know.
Don't see. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
you got a lot going on. You've got hormones going on. You're watching a 2-year-old now. Happy birthday, Weston!
Yay!
You're balancing both. You're tired. It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. It's hard to balance it all and to stay on for everybody else when you want to be around the people who are your family and they're going to love you no matter what and support you. And you're letting, kind of like they say when toddlers or kids come home from school and they're like at their most comfortable because they're with you and they let all their emotions go. That's kind of how I felt like I was when I was pregnant. Like as soon as I would get to Brandon, I'd be like, I'm a mess. I need your help.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a bunch of other ones that are really good. So, motherhood is always magical. The myth portrays motherhood as a nonstop fairy tale of bonding and joy. The truth is, it's a mix of emotions from incredible highs to challenging moments. It's messy, and that's part of what makes it so real.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's what it actually is. Yeah, it's not a fairy tale, but it is awesome, and it's I wouldn't change it for the world, and I get to experience new things and learning new things and just watching my son grow. It's amazing. So obviously it is a beautiful thing, but it's also messy and hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because it's like, Brandon and I will talk at night before we go to sleep and we're like, all right, today, we try to unpack the day a little bit of holy moly, Hannah is challenging us so much right now. She is a fierce, independent 3-year-old, and whatever we say, she throws it back in our face, and it's so challenging. And my mom yesterday, Hannah said something, and my mom just started bursting out laughing when we're trying to be serious and trying to discipline. And it's hard. I mean, we obviously love her, and it's just really hard. I love a lot of it. But it's challenging. Aubrey right now, if she's not attached to me, she's screaming and upset, and it's really challenging to do things. And I love that she loves her cuddles and to be close to me, but I also want to be able to make breakfast or make, clean stuff and do stuff. And that is I love you so much, but can you give me a minute?
Right.
And I'm but we were on vacation and my brother was there, and he's I said, hey, can you take Aubrey out for a little bit just to get her out of the place? She's been inside all day. And he's like, is she going to let me take her? She's so attached to you. And I was like, oh yeah, as soon as she's out of my eyesight, she's going to love you and be so great with you. And he's he came back after an hour. And I was like, wow, you were gone a long time. He's like, she was so awesome. She was loving everything we were doing. She was happy. She was laughing. She was doing all this stuff. I said, I know, I'm the problem. I am the catalyst. And I don't know how to get around that, but man, it's really, really challenging. So yeah. But yes, it's I don't know if magical is the word I would use.
No.
I don't know if motherhood is magical.
When you say magical, I think of Disneyland.
I know, same.
I've never
Like
been
I
there.
think of like perfect princess fairy tale, and that is not.
Yeah, your kids are acting like they're listening to you 100% of the time. Like they're well behaved. That's magical. No, the reality is no, that's not.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
messy.
when they get older. Michelle sent us a thing on Instagram. I know you're not on Instagram, but she sent us a video about all of the really cool things of each age, like 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, all the way up to I think her kid is like 7 or 8, and she was like telling all the really cool milestones of every year that they've hit. And I was like, wow, that'll be wild. Like hitting 6 or 4 or whatever, you know, when we're in what we're in right now. But
yeah. Yeah, definitely when you're in the thick of it, it's sometimes hard, but like you just think about like all the cool things that are going on and focusing on those like positive moments, and it can really change your perspective, I think. But sometimes you do feel like you're drowning in like dishes and laundry and dirty diapers and crying babies, and it's like it can be tough. But
it is. That's another one of the myths. Your house should always be spotless. There's this idea that if you're a good mom, your home will always be tidy, but we all know the truth. Kids create chaos and perfection is overrated. How do you feel about that when you know like somebody's coming over?
Oh, I'm cleaning and vacuuming and dusting, and then it gets messy. Like as soon as, especially if they're coming to stay, then all of a sudden their stuff's everywhere too. And I was like, what was the point? Like they don't care.
Yeah.
But a lot of that comes from my mom. She's still the same. She'll come home from a long day and then start aggressively cleaning the counters. I was like, I was gonna get that. I just need a minute. Like,
yeah.
She's like, no, it de-stresses me, and I'm like, well, you're stressing me out. Like, watch it. Like, no. So I don't know. I do like to have an organized house and a clean house, but like it definitely gets messy. And there's sometimes I'm like on top of it because I am at home, so I do have time to do that stuff, especially when Weston's napping. But then there's times it's like he's napping, I need a break, and this is my break. Like Ryan gets an hour lunch break to like go and like eat food and talk to people. I mean, maybe not right now because he's working at home, but like when he is, I'm like, I should be able to take an hour break for myself and do something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Your house will not always be clean.
I think that's such a tough one because it's like you mentioned, like having a clean house, man, it's like my brain is healthier, happier, everything's great. But the capacity to clean every single day is really challenging for me. And so the only thing that I'll say that has helped a little bit with us is that, and we reset. So it's not like it's always like this, but we try to Montessori our home in the sense of only having like 3 to 5 toys out at one time instead of having all the toys we own out, so that the mess is manageable, quote unquote manageable, right? But
yeah,
it is incredible. Like right now we have 20 pairs of shoes in our foyer, like our main walk, like entrance into the house. And I'm like, I'm going nuts. We need to get these out of here because it's such a bad welcome into the house. Like our house is definitely not always spotless. It's so funny. So, McKella, I work for McKella's mom, and McKella and Susan just got surgery today. And she was like, yeah, the girls are coming to stay with me to take care of me after the surgery. And she's like, I have to clean the house. And I'm like, for your kids? Like, what are you talking about? She's like, they give me such a hard time living alone. I have all this time and I don't clean my house, and then they give me a hard time for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so not
I know,
not what I will be doing. My kids will know, like, hey, you get what you get. If you want to clean, you go clean it.
I look, lived in. And I know Susan, so I just feel like she'd rather be outside doing something like
and it's tax season and she's a CPA, so it's nutty right now.
Yeah. No, I will say someone told me, because they knew how like upset I get about like things being unorganized. They're like, your kids or your family, you're not going to remember whether or not your house was clean, but you'll remember like the memories that you made or went and like did. I told that to my mom, and she's like, no, I'll remember if my house is clean. I'm like, of course you will.
It's
She noticed
interesting, like
the littlest thing, like if there's like a fingerprint on the refrigerator. She was like, I just wiped this off. I'm like, Mom.
it's crazy. Like my mom grew up in a super, super tidy house. Like my grandma, her house was spotless constantly, always. Even she lived alone until she was 92. Even when she was 92, like that house was spotless. It was perfect. And then my mom fell very, very far from the tree because she was not a tidy person at all. Like we were not tidy. We did not grow up cleaning, tidy, anything, right? Like we just got by. We do the dishes and the laundry, but that was about the extent of what we did.
Yeah.
And I just think about like when my mom hardly ever let my grandma into our house. Like we would always go to my grandma's house, but like I can really seriously remember my grandma coming to our house twice. And immediately she would start cleaning and it would make my mom so mad. So I think that is such a funny thing to see, like, and when that's a priority for people. Like I wish I was a cleaner person for sure. Like I wish I took care of our stuff and cleaned it better. But it's really a hard balance. And I think about back before I had kids, and I wasn't clean then, and I should have been clean then when I had the opportunity for nobody else to mess it up.
Yeah.
But
That's
here we
hard.
are. Yeah. That along those lines, one of the myths, you have to be super mom, the notion that you need to do it all perfectly, be an amazing mom, partner, friend, and professional. No one can actually do everything flawlessly, and that's what makes us human. That is a challenge for me. I have a lot of guilt when I don't do things great and perfectly, and I don't know how to let that go. And that is a really big challenge for me. And you know that because I've texted you through struggling with my mother-in-law, like giving the kids stuff that I specifically ask her not to. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to mess them up because of one, when they're with Nana, like they do this, that, and the other thing that I don't believe in. And it's really hard, because then I'm like, maybe I just shouldn't ski and I should just stay here and take care of them so that they don't, whatever.
Or maybe they should just respect your boundaries.
Yeah, no. That's what my father-in-law looked at me, like within minutes of him seeing Hannah, he's like, hey, you want some of my pop? And I'm like, dude, she didn't even ask for it. Like, why are you even doing that? And then on the last day, he's like, I'm going to get you in trouble, Han. I'm going to give you my Diet Pepsi. And I was like, no, you're not. And he looked at me and he goes, your mom won't let me give this to you. I said, you're right, I won't. Don't do that. Like,
yeah.
First of all, you're villainizing me, which
right.
is whatever. I'm fine with that. Like my mom was always really good about always blame me. You want to get out of something, blame me. My mom was great about that. And I feel the same way. Like villainize, that's okay. And that doesn't bother me. But like you're sitting at the table with me where I don't approve of this. Why would you even do that? Like that's something that's really important to me. And I don't understand that. And I do know, like, as Hannah has gotten older, I have lessened up on my strictness, but there's a lot that I don't understand,
Yeah.
Yeah,
same. I would say, I have a lot of mom guilt, and what was it again that we're perfect?
Super mom.
Yeah.
You always have to be super mom.
Yeah, and like there's some days I really feel like I'm on it, and then there's days that like I don't know. I was like I could have done better, or I could have been like not get aggravated. I do pretty well at like just kind of staying calm, but then sometimes, especially being pregnant, it's just like, okay, I need you to listen now. Like, and then I feel bad for, I don't know, just not gentle parenting. That sounds really bad. I am nice. I'm not yelling. I don't spank. I don't do any of that, but it's just like, I could have handled the situation better. And it's not even with Weston. It's usually with my spouse, my husband. So I'm like, I could have handled that situation better. I acted like a toddler in that moment. So,
I said that to Brandon today. I was like, you need to go to work because I don't want 3 kids. Like I have 3 kids right now. And he got so mad at me. And I was like, I think it's really hard for I made a comment to my father-in-law while we were with them. And I was like, it's so interesting, like seeing how people treat their kids, because it's a lot of how they were treated as kids. And he kind of like fell on the sword and was like, yeah, I didn't do a great job at some of that stuff. And that's Brandon's showing you how he was parented, and that's how he parents his kids. And I was like, it's really challenging for me to like be able to let that go sometimes. And I think that is really hard, because I know he's doing the best he can and he really but like, he also knows I want the control. Like if I had the perfect world, I would tell him like, hey, you need to work on your patience. And like, he would be patient then, and just kind of let these things happen. Right.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. It's really hard for me to watch that and not lose it, and not criticize his every move. I don't know how to let that go. And that's really hard.
Yeah. That is hard, especially
because
when
I
we
want to be
done.
super mom and control everything.
Yeah. And gatekeep. That was one of our earlier episodes. Yeah.
That's
gatekeeping.
right.
You can go back and check it out. I don't know what number it is. If Leah was here, she could pull the number right out and be like,
yeah, right.
Just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's the same. So yes, I feel like I strive to be super mom, and then I like get burnt out on trying to do all the things, and then I just like give up. So I just need to just do what I can, and I don't know, not stress and compare myself to others.
And that's one of the other ones, the myth that you have to do it all. There's a belief that moms should be able to juggle everything: work, chores, social life, cooking gourmet meals, and being a perfect parent. But in reality, it's okay to ask for help or let things slide sometimes. And that's exactly what we were talking about. Like, asking for help for me is tough, because if you don't do it my way, then I'm like, why did I even ask?
Right.
It's just such a problem.
I feel that too.
Problem.
I've even had Ryan say, he's like, you asked me to help and I'm helping, and now you're telling me I'm doing it wrong. Yeah. So I don't want to help.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fair. I get it. Sorry.
I think we talked about that in one of the podcasts about travel, and how we are like, yeah, I want you to surprise me with a trip. And then Brandon is like, no, you don't. Because then I won't pick the right place to stay. I won't pick the right things for you to go do. And I'm like, so we have a big trip coming this summer. And I was like, okay, how about you pick where we stay? And he's like, I mean, I can, but I don't want to. Like, I'll do it. And I'm like, that's the hard part, right? Is like, if I ask for help, I have to let it go. And I have to allow people to do it the way they want to do it, rather than controlling everything.
I know that's hard, but I will say, right.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, I will say, Ryan scheduled me a massage for tomorrow, and it was a prenatal massage.
Ooh.
But he did have to ask my sister for help, but she did. And he like texted me while he was working like the confirmation. I'm like, oh, that's because awesome. I kept saying I need a massage. He's like, I think that I'm gonna get you a gift every time it's Weston's birthday, because like you gave birth. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. I was like, so I get two really gifts when we have the second? He's like, no, just choose. I'm like, no, I think I get two.
I love
one
it.
in August and one in March. That'll be great. Plus Mother's Day and my birthday. Yeah. So I'm excited for that tomorrow.
That's going to be great.
Yeah. But now I have to ask for help, which I have to ask my dad or my sister to watch Weston. And they probably have plans.
Do you do a good job at being able to ask for help?
Kind of. No, I don't know. I guess not. I don't think Ryan. Okay, my brain just has a lot of things to say. Ryan was like, if you need help, you just need to come out and ask. He says, you like kind of beat around the bush. Like you think that I'm going to read your mind. You say, we need to do this, or we should do this. But if you want me to do it, you need to ask, or else I think you're just making a statement. He's like, if you want me to change Weston's diaper, say, will you change his diaper? Instead of saying, oh, you have a dirty diaper. He's like, I hate that. So I guess not. He's like, I'd rather you straight out and just ask me, instead of like, I don't know, kind of.
Have you ever seen the movie The Breakup?
Yeah.
with Jennifer Aniston and
Mhm.
Vince Vaughn, and
Yeah.
she's like, I want you to want to do the dishes, and he's like, who wants to do the dishes? And it's like, yeah, but like I want you to want to like
Do it.
do these things for me and want to like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
hard.
And to
Yeah.
be fair, Ryan says he can't smell anything. I don't know if it was COVID. He said he couldn't smell things before that. So who knows? Something the military probably gave him. Those anthrax shots. I don't know. He he says he can't smell the dirty diaper, and I can smell it. And
Oh,
he'll literally get right up to it, and sometimes can't smell it. And if he can smell it, that
wow.
means it's really stinky.
That's kind of a dream.
Yeah, I
I
can
am
smell it
so
across the
sensitive.
room. I was like,
I
oh, he's
know.
got a dirty
Same.
diaper.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep. I sense that for sure.
So I
Yeah.
guess I'm not good at asking help. I ask passively, I guess, and
Yeah.
then get upset when no one helps me because I didn't ask for help like a normal person.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Like a lot of times will be like, how do you not know what I want by now? We've been married for almost 5 years. And it's like, I talked to coworkers in the past and they're like, you don't want to get to the point where you guys know each other so well that you don't ever have to like converse or any of that because it's not fun anymore. So enjoy it, but also understand it's going to be challenging. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's the hardest part too, right? Is that I can't even imagine back in the day of like our grandparents' age where like my grandma just stayed at home and was expected to make the meal every day and to clean the house every day. And that's just what she was supposed to do. It wasn't like my grandpa was ever expected to chip in. And if he did chip in, it was weird, right? Like
Mhm.
guys didn't do that. Like even in our parents' era, like I talk about to people like how many of our dads changed diapers, and there weren't really that many in my circle that the dads actually changed diapers. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like I can't even imagine living in that era where that was all just expected of you.
Right. Yeah, that's wild. Times have
And like
changed. I will say,
the dad would lay down the law, and like, it was normal to be afraid of your dad because he was just there to lay down the law.
yeah,
Crazy.
which is kind of unfair. Like, oh, Johnny did this, and like, just wait till your dad gets home, and like, you have to be
Yes.
scared of your dad. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
am glad that times have changed from that, and that parents take on whatever role that they need to. It's not, and it might not even be 50-50. It's whoever can do what at what time, like,
Mm-hmm.
And then I also, um, it's probably on Instagram that I saw it, but they were talking about how, like, when the dad or whoever goes to work and then comes home, like, they're clocking out of work, but now they're clocking in to being a
Yes.
parent. Whatever they need,
Yep.
that they need to help with bath, or they need help with food, do laundry, like, what is it that they need to do? And then also, like, the stay-at-home person is like clocking in and doing all the things, and then I don't know. So whatever's left at the end of the day, it's like they're tackling that together, their partners. So it's nice because they do portray, like in the 50s, the dad coming home, getting a beer, sitting in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I totally different times. Very
yeah,
lucky.
yeah, for sure. My friend, her dad, she said her dad never changed diapers, but now that he's a grandparent and he like babysits them a lot because he does have a lot more free time, is like kind of retired, and so he changes their diapers. He like,
Whoa.
takes her son to jujitsu, like does all this stuff with them, and I don't know. It's just funny how grandparents change. Except my dad still has not changed Weston's diaper.
Oh, yeah, my dad
He
will not.
refuses.
My dad refuses. Yeah, he would never. He would never
Yeah,
do that. Yeah.
but then Ryan's dad does it all the time.
Does
So
he?
he's like, "Oh, I got it, Danielle. Do you want me to get him up? Do you want me to put him down for a nap?" I'm like, he's like super, uh, like I don't know, helpful. My dad's helpful too. My dad will take him on the four-wheeler and they go do man stuff out in the yard. So that's cute. He had him help him pick up sticks and put it in their trailer because they have a lot of
Oh,
branches and stuff down from like when they had the hurricane and the ice storm just recently.
It's
So they've been
awesome.
picking stuff up.
Just
So
different experiences. And,
yeah.
luckily our kids won't know they didn't get their diapers changed by their grandparents unless they listen to our podcast.
Right.
In which case, it's okay if that's what
Yeah.
they're bringing to the table. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. Like I've said to Brandon a bunch, like if you communicate things with me and you give me expectations and you say, you know what, I'm not going to do this, or I am not feeling it today, it helps a lot more than when I, see you not doing things for whatever reason, but you didn't communicate with me, hey, I had a rough day or whatever, because I do that all the time. I'm like, hey, I just don't have it in me right now to do this. And he'll be like, okay, cool, I'll step in. And I'm like, yeah, look, we're communicating. This is so wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I think the strain on marriage from kids is just incredible to me. It's like, man, I can't even believe like how free our lives were before kids, and like how people all the time would be like, oh, don't rush to have kids, don't rush to get married, don't rush to do all of these things, because your life on the other side of it is so different. It's just like all these changes, like same thing with becoming empty nesters. Like everybody's like, don't rush into that, because then your house is quiet, kids aren't around, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, yeah, I'm not rushing for that period at
Mm-mm.
all. I do wish sometimes for a little bit easier, and it has gotten easier as the kids have gotten older, like for sure. But yeah, I don't want to wish it away, but I also like, wow, what was our lives like before?
I know. A lot more free time, though. I feel like we just watched a lot more Netflix, to be
Yes,
honest,
same.
watching
We
shows
watched a
and stuff.
lot.
Now we
Yes,
barely watch TV, but I will
I
say
know.
it's so easy to put like your marriage on the back burner when you're focused on like your kids and like your job and trying to just not survive during the day, but just to get through
Yeah.
it and like do all the things. And then at the end of the day, you're just so tired. You're like sometimes we're like, okay, well, we're going to bed now. Good night. And like I do sometimes stop. I'm like, we need to like stop and at least have a 30-minute conversation and like,
Yes.
talk and not like numb out in front of the TV. Though sometimes we do enjoy watching a show together um and that's what we need. But it is also important to like stop and talk to your spouse. I don't know.
Yeah.
There will be times like in the morning, and I try to be better, that we went all day and I haven't hugged him, I didn't give him a kiss. It's just like we would just got up and like just started going. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I will say the other day, I was like, I hadn't kissed you all day. He's like, well, it was kind of hard to, because that was the day I was being really grumpy. I was like, oh,
Oh.
it's like hugging a porcupine right now, probably. But it was my fault. It was. I don't know if you've ever I've heard it of women like, this isn't me, but like kind of not despise their husband when they're pregnant. They're just like, don't
Mm-hmm.
really want to be around them, don't want to be touched by them. That's not me. I'm not to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't get that. And I didn't feel that way with Weston, but this pregnancy, I'm like, I could kind of get that.
Yep.
No, if that makes any sense. And that it
It
has
does.
everything to do with my hormones. I love my husband so much, and he's great. He's a great dad. He's great to me. And I just sometimes I'm just snappy, and I hate it so much. I
Yeah.
do. I don't know how many times I've told you that I need therapy. If we went back, I've
Oh yeah.
probably said it 100 times by now.
Yeah.
I really should look into it just to kind of help me through some of these feelings or hormones because it just like comes up and I get hot and I just say what I gotta say and then it's over and I'm like, I instantly regret that. So,
I think what I really liked about therapy was like we would unpack a bunch of stuff, like to the point where I would either write notes in my phone of like what I wanted to cover in therapy, or I would, things were just popping off. But I would get to the point where like there wasn't enough time in my therapy session to get to everything. So I would have to like prioritize what I really wanted to go through. And then I would get home and I would unpack everything my therapist would say to Brandon of like, she did a really good job at making me understand why you're doing this thing or that thing. Or she would help me to communicate with you that this is really something that is non-negotiable to me that I need help with. And I really enjoyed that. And I need to find a new therapist too. But I think it's really interesting because it's like, we're lucky that therapy is a thing now, because I think back in the day where it wasn't, like even my mom's era, like that's such a stigma of having to go to therapy. And now it's like, man, that's so much easier to get through certain things because I have a therapist who can help me look on the outside of things. And I really enjoy that, and helps us, in our relationship, because it helps me to understand his side a little bit more. But I also I liked it because she would be like, hey, that's a little controlling, that you need to let that go. And I'm like, I know, and Brandon's really good. Like when I ask him like, hey, can you work on this? This really bothers me that you do this. He does it. Whereas like he says it to me and I'm like, whatever, I'm not going to change. It's just not fair at all. So,
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah.
We're working on it. Like I said, this podcast needs to be called We Need Therapy.
We need therapy.
Yeah.
We need a therapist.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to end with two. There's two kind of more not lighthearted, but not as deep. So, a myth that all moms instantly love breastfeeding. Society paints breastfeeding as this beautiful, magical bonding experience. While it is for some, it's not always easy or fun for everyone. Some moms struggle with it, and that's perfectly okay.
I hated every moment of it. Every moment.
Yeah.
It was okay when we finally got it. But I had that feeling, I think it was Leah who mentioned it, but like at first, like few seconds before your milk dropped, I don't know who was talking about it, and you just feel like, this sucks, I hate this, I'm so sad, like I'm angry, like this wave of emotion. And then as soon as like your milk let down, it was like fine. But it was painful, and I don't know if it's because I didn't get to breastfeed right away, or I didn't even get to hold my son for 24 hours. I think that had a lot to do with it, but it was just hard, and I feel like we struggled at the beginning, and then there was like some part in the middle that it was okay, and then when we got close to 9 months, we were struggling again because the boy can't sit still, so he was like not gaining weight like he should, and so it was hard. I'm glad I got to do it for 9 months. I'm thankful for that. And then of course I wanted to make it to a year, and I felt like a failure that I didn't. But once I did let go and stop, even though I felt like a failure, I felt this like relief of like, I'm glad that is over with. So I'm hoping it's different this time.
I agree with that. I think the beginning, oh man, it was so stressful of like, is she going to latch? Is she going to be able to get it? Like, this is so hard. And there were times like, it's weird to me. So I'm going to kind of go on a tangent for a second, then I'll come back. But when I traveled in Europe for 3 months, like around the time I turned 30. And I was kind of like living my life of like total vagabond, like not at all like doing things that I would normally do, like doing things outside of my comfort zone. So I would like go, and I went to a beach in France and went topless because it was like a nude beach. And I was like, I look back at that and I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. Like, what was I thinking? That's so bizarre. It was literally me and all these like 90-year-olds. Everybody else was fully clothed, and I was me. Yeah. Anyway, but I think about breastfeeding and I'm like, man, that's such a weird time of my life, like a weird experience to be like, hey, why don't you just like come suck on me? Like, that's weird to me, like when you really break down and think about it. Right. But in the time, it was like really nice to not have to like carry formula around with me. But on the flip side of that, then I had to have my pump with me everywhere because I never knew like, oh, I have to go to work and I have to pump at work, which I hated doing because people would walk in on me doing it all the time and then try and have conversations with me while I'm pumping. And I'm like, it's weird. It was weird to me. And I agree with you. Like, I really wanted to make it a year with both of them. And with Hannah, made it to 9 months. And then I was like a huge relief to stop and to just be like, you know what? She's going to be okay. And it's funny because I've been like seeing more and more articles of like, you should be breastfeeding until they're 3. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, and it's interesting because like, I think some people pump exclusively, which is really cool that you can provide for them too. Like Aubrey, I pumped enough that I stopped breastfeeding her like straight off of me at like 7 months. But I had enough milk to get through 11 months because I had stored up so much, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I know 3 different people that didn't breastfeed at all. And the guilt they had for not doing it is so bad. Was so bad when they were deciding not to do it, but now when they look at it, they're like, my kids are fine, they're healthy, good kids. Like, it's it's a really hard thing. Like, it is
Mm-hmm.
not. I did love the connection points of it at times, for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
It's hard, but I've heard people say it's magical and they loved every minute of it, and that's awesome for you guys.
Yeah, good for
And
you.
that sounded sarcastic, but I don't mean it. That's truly amazing, and like happy for you. Like,
Yeah.
I wish that was me too, but it was not. It was not my experience.
Yep, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you in that. Like, I also like didn't enjoy having to wear with Hannah. Like, I was a total overproducer. Like, we got to the point where Hannah was spitting up so much, and so I had a lactation consultant come, and she's like, "So you're feeding her way too much." And I was like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." And it was like a problem that other people didn't have, and they like underproduced, and they're like, "Oh, you careful what you wish for." But the thing is I would wake up soaking wet all the time because I would just leak through. So, that was really hard. But yeah, I didn't, we can move on from that. So the last one is kids will sleep through the night by 3 months. The myth that your baby should be sleeping soundly by a certain age. Many babies take months or years to sleep through the night, and it's totally normal.
Oh, this one's so controversial. I cannot speak today.
Controversial. Yeah.
There we go.
That's okay.
Yeah, because some people say that they should be sleeping, and then others are like, no, you should still be waking up your baby, or they should be sleeping with you. So there's a lot that go. I think whatever works best for you is what you should do. I will say Weston did sleep through the night by 3 months, and he did pretty well. And of course, kind of he had sleep regressions where he would wake up in the middle of the night here and there. So I feel like we got lucky with a lucky sleeper. But again, that's not everybody's story, and that's a myth. So
we were really lucky with Hannah. She at 3 months slept through the night, and then slept all the way through the night, like every single night until she turned 2, and then from 2 to 3 had been a nightmare. And we finally, I want to say it was like a month and a half ago, decided she would come to our room. Like, some nights she would come to her room like a million times. We would just walk her back because we were reading all these things about how to like make her sleep through the night, and it was really hard. And I finally was like, you know what? You can sleep on the floor next to my bed, because Brandon and I both did that as kids. We both slept on the floor next to our parents' beds, and we're like, you know what? Let's just let it happen. So now she comes in between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. She usually will wake me up and say, "Mommy, can you please put the blanket on me?" Even though she knows how to do it, but she just needs that comfort of hearing me and me helping her. And then she'll sleep until like 7. When we were forcing her to sleep in her bed every single night, like I said, she'd come into our room on average 3 to 5 times a night, and then would be up at 5 a.m. And now we can get her like, it's so much better. And Aubrey, she went through like probably a 6 to 8 month stint of doing really great at sleeping through the night. And now, and I don't know if it's because she's sick or what, but we have not gotten through the night in probably like, it's only been like 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. And you're like, man, I really enjoy being able to sleep through the night. But it's interesting how many people that I had talked to never had troubles with their kids sleeping. And then there are people I talk to that are like, oh, I don't believe that people don't have problems with their kids sleeping. I said, Hannah was awesome until she was 2. So like, I know it can happen, but to put that pressure on yourself of like, oh, we also super controversial. We let both of our kids cry it out at 3 months. We started at 3 months trying to let them cry it out, and it worked great for Han. 3 nights of her crying, and then like 15 minutes, and she was
Yeah.
fine. Aubrey, the first time we tried to let her cry out, it was 3 hours, and I
Oh,
was
no.
like, I felt like it was abusing her. It was horrible. And so it's like such an interesting thing, because then you start to worry like, oh, me going in the room all the time, is that gonna make her always need me to go to sleep? And
Yeah.
but
It's
it's
all,
hard.
yeah, it is. But in a grand scheme of things, it's like such a short time too, even though it might be years.
Yeah.
But it's just,
It's
it's wild.
It's so true, because it's interesting. Like the teacher that Aubrey has now, that's the same teacher that Leah's son and Michelle's daughter have. And she believes in teaching potty training in like 3 days or 5-day windows. And they'll be perfectly potty trained after that. We went through it with Hannah for a year of trying to get her to potty train, because that's what our school wanted us to do. And it was painful while we were in it. Same thing with the year of no sleeping. And now I look back on it and I'm like, oh, that was like a blip on the radar, even though it was a full year and we were so frustrated while we were in it, but now we're like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was, It's crazy.
Oh, it's wild. I was listening to something, some countries let their kids sleep in their room until they're 7. I'm like, that's a long time. But I don't know. Some people, again, back in the day when people lived in one room houses, they all lived in the same room, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because then how did you have 8 kids?
Right. Like, ew.
My question.
Ew. I don't want to know. Were you doing it with them in the room? Ew.
Yeah. Things that I think about. I'm like, that's just random.
I have those thoughts all the time, and usually I put them on video and you guys all get to see them, so you're welcome. Yeah, like Hannah had to sleep with us in Jackson Hole while we were on vacation, and man, she was rolling all over the place. She was digging her feet into my back, then she was headbutting me all the time because she wanted to be as close as she could to me, and I'm like, this is not maybe kids who always co-sleep are better because they're used to it. I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't generalize, but I can't. I don't sleep well, and I'm not the best when I don't sleep well. So that whole year, I'm sorry if anybody encountered me in that full year of Hannah not sleeping, because I was like, I hate everybody. I hate everything. Don't talk to me. And that's not me. I'm a super, I want to talk to everybody. I want to know everybody's story. And I was miserable. So
yeah, that's how I am without sleep too. And I will say, when we got here, Weston was not sleeping.
Yeah.
At all. Well, he just kept waking up hour after hour, and it was just a lot. And of course, I'm grumpy because I need sleep too, because I feel the same. And especially being pregnant made me even more grumpy. But just so we tried a combination of things. Well, one, that obviously we always go outside when we can, and then I tried putting his nap a little earlier, making sure he gets up at a certain time. I think what did it was we have the hatch, and I just have it 1% of it's just red, because I was like, oh well, red light's not that bright, because if blue, I felt like if it was a blue light that was gonna be too much. I did the red light on 1%, and so it lightens up the room a little bit, because the room that we're in, because we're sharing a room, is so dark. And I was like, well, maybe he just keeps waking up and not knowing where he is, because in our old house there was the fire alarm that put off a green tint, when I was in his room in the dark, you could still see if your eyes were adjusted. So I was like, well, maybe he just can't see where he's at. That. He's been sleeping through the night since. So
that's awesome.
We have a little night light. I know they're like, no, don't use night lights. So it's not a super bright one. It's just very dark red, enough to if he wakes up, he can see that he's in his crib.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're terrible with. We have the hatch in Hannah's room because we tried the red light, green light thing, and that was a disaster. Did not work for us at all. She was like, screw this. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what color the light is. I'm out of here. And Aubrey, I still have the sound machine for her. And I'm like, I know that's a controversial thing too. Oh, she's always going to need that now. And it's it makes her sleep, and I need my sleep. So I'll let her do it. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Those
Yeah.
myths are fun. I like that.
Yeah, that was. Thank
Yeah.
you, AI.
Yeah, seriously. We love you. Don't come murder us.
No.
All right. Well, join us next time on Mom Jeans. Let us know if you have any mom myths that you can think of, or dad myths, parent myths, caregiver myths, any of those. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye. And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.